Hey everybody, what's going on? I just want to let everyone know that I'm saving my Punisher Netflix series review for part of my Punisher retrospective. So I'm not going to be doing like a chill on Netflix on this season of the Punisher or anything. But that being said, I wanted to let everybody know that I have seen the first season, and I just wanted to give a few of my thoughts on it. I gotta say, look, I love the Punisher, and I really like this first season. I think one thing that people are going to have issues as fans of the Punisher with this season is going to be that it's not balls to the wall, skull wearing, criminal fighting action the entire 13 episodes. The story of the Punisher in this takes place after the Daredevil season 2 stuff, where he has gone after everyone he thought was connected with his family's murder, and then we get to see the end of that at the very first of this season, and then he kind of gives it up, and he's just kind of a man lost. Um, and then things happen that he finds out there were other connections, and the story just gets bigger and bigger, and there's government conspiracies and things like that that draw him back in. Um, and we'll have to say that you only get to see him uh, wear the skull a few times throughout the entire season. Um, and honestly, though, uh, for this first season, for the story they were telling, I think that's okay, because he's not yet the Punisher. I mean, they call him the Punisher. He was in the papers as the Punisher, but he kind of disappeared. Everyone thought he was dead, and then things happen, and of course he resurfaces, and then the public knows about it. There's a lot going on in this season. Uh, some things that I liked were that they introduced some Punisher staples. First, one of the main characters from the comics, Billy Russo, who fans know is the future Jigsaw, plays a major part in this first season. They do change up his story a little bit. Uh, he has a more connected story to Frank, and I'll just leave it at that for you to watch it. I'm actually fine with this change because it just gives him more of a reason to be there. Because I mean, the original Jigsaw uh, story is fine, but it's kind of generic. I mean, he wasn't a he's just another mob guy and then became somebody. Well, this guy actually has a reason to be around Frank, to interact with Frank the entire time. So it makes a lot of sense. Um, I also like that near the first, they kind of tease the future a little bit because the name Nucci comes up, which fans of the Punisher know uh, who the Nucci family is. Um, they're only there. The name only comes up like once or twice near the beginning of the season. I think it's a future kind of tease thing. It's not, they didn't do a ton with it this season, but I think it gives the Punisher somebody to fight. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be next season. They may start the whole Nucci storyline, which that's a lot of the Welcome Back Frank stuff. Ma Nucci is just horrible, and her interactions with Frank Castle are pretty legendary in the comics. So I'm excited about that. I just like that they kind of dealt with, Frank is this man lost, and anytime he sleeps, he sees his family, and then he sees his family die, and he always wakes up. At least at the first of the season, he's waking up like the same time every morning, um, and he kind of realizes over time that he's he thinks he wants to die, and they don't deal with him like putting guns to his head or anything like they did in the 2004 movie, but you can see that he's realized he's struggling with should he die and just be with his family, and the whole thing is him realizing that it's not time. Um, So they deal with that. One thing I really liked, Micro, who's a major character in the comics and has always been kind of Frank's support system. Um, he plays a major role in this first season because he's trying to get back to his family. He has been basically a ghost and presumed dead for like a year or so when he tracks down Frank. And his story and Frank's story kind of tie together. I'll just leave it at that. And he gets a lot to do, and his family is involved a lot in this. Um, I'm not gonna say there was a love triangle because it wasn't, because you kind of know Frank's motivations, even though Micro doesn't. Frank gets close with Micro's wife, and with her thinking her husband's been dead for a year, you can kind of see where that's going. But it turns out the way that it should. One thing that was also cool, and I hope they do this in a way, I kind of now hope they do this with the other Netflix series, the Marvel series. I know they were supposed to be connected to the MCU, but being that they seem to be distancing themselves further and further from the MCU, this one doesn't mention it at all that I could recollect. The thing that really stuck out to me was they were talking about events, and usually whenever there's a big event, like a big catastrophe that happens, they mention like the event, the Avengers, destruction of the city thing. And this time they said 9/11, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're not going to mention, the event, or whatever it was they were calling it in like the first season of Daredevil. They mentioned 9/11, so I was like, okay, well, they're kind of distancing themselves from connecting to the MCU. And honestly, at this point, with everything that's going on, I think that's a good thing. Um, Another thing is, other than one character, this barely connects to the other shows as well. Karen Page shows up from Daredevil, and her and Frank's story kind of continues from Daredevil season 2. Um, I'm hoping they're not going the route that they're kind of teasing. I think they were just trying to give Frank some humanity by adding her in. As one thing I don't like is romance stories with Frank Castle, because his whole thing is his family's dead, he's broken. You know, if he heals, then he ceases to be the Punisher, and I don't I think that's too easy. I mean, maybe down the road, but this character has the point of the character is that he's damaged, and he can't heal. And I mean, granted, this season, oh, don't get me wrong, it tells that story, especially in the last couple episodes. There's some scenes that are pretty weird when it comes to his mental stability, and I won't spoil what's going on, but he's having problems with the bad guys. Let's just put it that way, and his mindset is really messed up. But with bringing in Karen Page, she kind of, I don't know. She just likes dangerous men. Let's just put it that way. So I'm kind of hoping they don't take that too far. I mean, maybe you can keep it a thing to try to keep Frank grounded to reality, but the reality is he's a damaged person, and that is what makes the Punisher story compelling. This show, like I said, it's not going to be for everyone, and I think some fans are going to be a little disappointed. Me, as a fan, I'm okay with them taking a season, building him up to be a certain character. I think having him just running around wearing the skull all the time, would just get repetitive. You'd run out of bad guys. That's a thing. They're taking their time. I think they're going for they're playing long ball, right? They're not trying to just give you, here's a guy wearing the skull, bang, bang, bang. It's, this character is damaged. He's dealing with the stuff with the people connected to his family. It's going to get to a point, I think, next season, you're not going to have the stuff connected to his family. I mean, of course, you're probably guessing that he figures out most of it here in this first season, and then they can move on and they can bring in other characters and have them involved in other stories. But with them taking it like this, taking it in this direction first, they're telling a longer story. And if Punisher doesn't show up in the other shows and he just kind of sticks to his own, I mean, I have a feeling he'll show up in Daredevil sometime, maybe to help out once or something, but just to keep him, fresh in the viewers' minds as a character in the universe. But if he's not majorly involved in any other series, I'm okay with that. That's what's weird about this series. It just felt like its own thing. And like I said, if Karen Page wasn't in it, it would definitely have just felt like something separate. And in a way, I'm okay with that. I do like that it is connected, because then you get the possibility that, Matt Murdock might show up and represent him or something just out of nowhere or something like that, or Foggy, or, him running into someone. But I honestly don't want to see the Punisher now, this Punisher, involved in something to do with Iron Fist, or something like that, something mystical. I want to see this Punisher dealing with, I mean, if anything, I want to see him deal with like Wilson Fisk, because especially for that prison scene that we got in Daredevil season 2, him saying, "Next time I see you," so I want to, this season of the Punisher felt like something that could be real, and I like that. I like that. I don't know. It gave me a break from the mysticism and the powers, and as much as I love that stuff, this just gave me something that in all in all forms of reality could be real. And it just, that interested me, that, and as someone that's been a fan of the character, you get to see that. Now, like I said, you don't get exactly the Punisher you think you're going to get with this, because, I mean, I'll tell you, at the very first of the season, you do. You're seeing basically a glimpse of the future, even though it's not. You're seeing, like, what a full-blown motivated Punisher would do. But then he's lost. They're going to have him dealing with this over the series, I think, of him, fighting who he really is, or who he's become. And in my opinion, this is going to be a very good thing. Season 1 of The Punisher is highly recommended. And like I said, I'm going to talk about his character in a Punisher retrospective more. I may or may not do the season. I haven't decided how I'm going to do things, but I just wanted to let everyone know that I started at 2 a.m. Central and watched as much as I can. I had to go to work and everything, and let's just say when I could watch it, I watched it, and I finished it in less than 24 hours, so 13 hours of television. I'm recording this I started about, I think I finished it. I finished it around 7 p.m. Central. So between 2 a.m. and 7 p.m., I was watching Jon Bernthal nail it as the Punisher. Johnny, I know you probably would never hear this, but if by chance you do, you are fantastic in this show. So is the rest of the cast. I love this season, and can I just go ahead and have season 2 right now? Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know what I thought of season 1, just so if you were on the fence about it, know that me, as a true fan of The Punisher, loved it. Until next time, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.